Okay, now it's
Yeah,
live.
Dhanashta. Yeah.
So we should start,
And
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so good afternoon, one and all. I, Dhanishta, welcome you all to. Hello, am I audible?
yeah, you are audible,
Am I?
Dhanishta.
I think there is some kind of problem. Sorry. Um, I think I should start again. Good afternoon to one and all. I, Dhanishta, and with my co-anchor Jaya, welcome you all to Quiz, organized by Sarkari School, an initiative. Uh,
Can we hear Dhanishta? I'm
No,
not
I
able
can't.
to hear her.
No, I can't hear her either. So maybe you could step in.
Um,
Yeah, she left. I think there's something wrong with her net.
yeah. So I can start with the introduction. Guys, wait a second, just. Yeah. So, good afternoon, one and all. Jaya Garg, and with my co-host, will be back soon. Dhanishta, welcome you all to Quizzbuzz event organized by the Project Vedna, an initiative of Sarkari School in collaboration with the Red Lotus. Today we have Avantika, the co-founder of the Red Lotus, and Shreya, an active member of the Red Lotus. So, how are you guys? You can
We're good,
answer.
we're good. How are you? We're doing great.
Okay, great. Please, can you like tell me about your organization a little bit?
Yeah, Atyantika, would you like to start?
Yeah. Before that, would you like me to screen share the presentation? We can go from there.
Yeah, yeah. You can like screen share it, and then you can tell about your organization.
Yeah. So I'll do that. Can you all see my screen?
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah,
loaded. Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
So this is the document. Right. Oops. So in the meantime, I'll just get started with a quick introduction. So, the Red Lotus Project is an organization that focuses on sustainable menstruation and also on the proper disposal of menstrual waste. So, we founded this organization around 6 months ago, and the entire thing really came about through my one visit to my local waste segregation plant. And I'd gone there for a brief research project, something of the sort. I just went there to click some pictures, really. And what I saw there were these were those वहाँ के sanitation workers who were by hand separating menstrual waste from the other garbage that was present there by hand. So this was something that I wasn't really expecting, because how can you expect sanitation workers heart say that they're picking out the menstrual waste that belongs to other people, right? That's just unacceptable. So I came home and we did a brief survey to see what exactly happens to our menstrual waste after we dispose of it. And since the products we use for menstruation, they're composed so much of plastic, is there a reasonable alternative that we should be using in place of pads and tampons? So that's really how the Red Lotus came to be. Like I mentioned, we focus on sustainability, and since there is always a certain section of society who doesn't have access to period products, but what about those people who have access to period products, but the disposal that they are carrying out is very inefficient, not to mention terrible for the environment. Uska kya karna chahiye, right? That's also an equally important question. So that's the problem we at the Red Lotus are trying to address. So we have three pillars, we like to say. One is the environment, the second is sanitation workers, because we also like to focus on their working conditions when it comes to the separation of menstrual waste from the other wet waste and that sort of thing. And the other would be, sorry, just excuse my dog in the background. And the third would be our inherent responsibility towards the environment. So that's really what the Red Lotus project is based on. I'm the co-founder and director. We have two other co-founders, Yashita and, sorry, why did I say Yashita? My brain is just Ishita and Manasvi, and we also have Shreya, who is right here. Maybe you can introduce yourself, Shreya.
Yeah. Hi, I am Shreya. I joined like a month ago. I'm a volunteer and I'm new here. So yeah.
Okay, so great. Now we would like to give a brief description about our organization, which is it is mainly Sarkari School, and Project Vedna is an organized by SarkariSchool.in, an initiative of We Citizen Foundation. The main aim of Project Vedna is to reduce girl absenteeism in rural schools or government school due to menstruation and other issues related to it. As you know, like this is a like real cause of getting absent in rural areas for like girls. So we are trying to eradicate it. So now is Dhanishta back?
Yes, I'm so sorry for the inconvenience. I'm
Yeah, so
facing
now
some
you
network
can,
issues.
yeah, yeah. Now you can go forward with your rules and rules of quiz.
All right, should I
Yes.
head to the first question?
No, no,
Like
no, no.
Dhanishta
There's
will
some.
be, yeah.
So first thing is there will be two teams, and team one will be Project Vedna, and the second team will be you both, and there will be two sessions in which both the teams will ask some questions to each other related to period poverty and the sustainable menstruation. And in the second session, we'll have an interview session. In that also, we'll ask some questions to each other. So now we can start with no further delay. And I'm so sorry for that inconvenience again. I hope I'm clear with all the rules.
Yeah, we got all the
Yeah,
rules.
yeah.
Yeah, so let
All the
me hang
best,
on.
guys.
Yeah, I think we'll need it. All right.
Yeah,
So,
so let's get started with the first question. As you can see on the screen, per 600 girls, how many are estimated to miss schools during their periods? So options are
Um.
with you: 150, 200, 340, or 245. What you guys think?
Shreya, do you have any idea? Because I have none. What
I
do
would.
you think?
I really wanna go with 150 because that's like the lowest number and it's still such a high number.
Right?
Um.
Yeah, yeah, like 150 of 600. I mean, all of these, as you mentioned, are very significant amounts and absolutely disastrous if one in four menstruators are missing school during their periods. So I think I would agree with you. Let's just go for the lowest number because I'm not really sure what the correct answer is anyway. So Shreya and I think we'll go with option A,
Yeah.
150.
Okay, but it's wrong answer. It's 245.
Oh
It's
God.
D.
Oh. Um.
I think
Yeah, these many girls.
that's actually that's even worse. I mean, all of these numbers, I would want none of them to be true, I think. But the fact that out of 600, 245, I'm assuming that's going to be an average, miss school during their
Yeah,
periods is
Yeah.
the number itself is so staggering, right? And it really puts into perspective how widespread this this problem is, because I'm assuming, because the major reason why girls miss school or don't really attend educational institution during their menstrual cycles is because the sanitation facilities at school are so inadequate, no? So it's
Yeah,
just
completely
it's so
agree.
sad to think about how they'll be missing out on such a significant amount of education. So I think this is a terrible question, but I think again it's a reminder that we all really need to work on how the sanitation facilities are at educational institutions in our country. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just a number, and we have to work to like reduce it. And our
Exactly.
organization is like trying to
Yeah.
reduce it.
Yeah, and I think I speak for everyone when I say this is the need of the hour. This is the sort of thing we need to work
Yeah,
on. So
yeah.
let's head to the next question, which is hopefully not as ominous. Yeah, this is a nicer question. Okay, so I think this is one of ours. So Shreya, why don't you read out the question?
When is menstrual hygiene day celebrated?
Okay.
Okay.
So
You like the answer?
I, yeah, I know this answer. I think it's May 20th.
Are you sure? Option
Yeah,
lock
I yeah, I
100%.
am because I researched about it last day.
Okay, dang it, you're right. So I think we're officially one love right now. You're right, the answer is May 28th. So I think you guys have earned yourself an interview question where we get to ask you a bit more about Project Vedna. So I think Shreya and I would like to know is how did you celebrate Menstrual Hygiene Day this year? And since of course we're in the midst of a pandemic, chaos everywhere, how has COVID 19 also impacted Project Vedna and your initiative?
Yeah, like as you asked, like what, how we celebrated our the menstrual day. So we celebrated by inviting various NGOs, like for discussions and like for speaking. As we know, like this, how communication is an important key. How we can make a difference just by communicating and just by spreading awareness. And we invited various NGOs, like let me mention some names to you. It is uh, wait a second. It's
This Balmitra Foundation we invited,
yeah.
and feed safety, and we conducted many open mics for the schools as well. Yes, we weren't able to do groundwork, but we tried to do as much as we could virtually.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
As COVID has inhibited our workings but has not completely stopped it, we are not able to lay the groundwork by going to schools and educating children in real. We are like bit restricted to online seminars and discussions because we can't go in pandemic time. So yeah,
Right, of
it's
course.
COVID has of course
Yeah,
affected.
and I think you hit the nail on the head where you mentioned communication and how awareness is also such an integral part of when you start such an initiative, because you can go and directly impact people, you can do field work, but one other thing that you have to keep in mind is just talking to people and how their experiences tie in. Shreya, what do you think? I think,
Yeah, yeah, I
yeah.
think you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it all comes back to the menstrual stigma that exists. So having a conversation about it itself, it really opens up a lot of space for change. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. Even in the midst of a pandemic, what you guys are doing, I think that's fantastic. So, on a
Yeah,
more
and
positive note, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and I was just saying, like, we tried our best to celebrate that day because that's kind of important to celebrate it. We like invited two girls, and like before us, there was one more team which conducted several events. Like they conducted children's event in which they talked to various children of government schools, and they tried to spread awareness. They talked to teachers because teachers plays a huge role because 80% or 50%, let's say 60% of time children spend there in schools only. So what education they will get from school is quite, huge. It plays a huge amount of role. So they
Yeah.
conducted a session with teachers, and also they tried connecting with parents, as they invited mothers and two girls which were working on menstrual hygiene. So they like tried supporting it, conducting various sessions at national levels also. So we are also working on it.
Yeah,
Few
I
days
think
back
that's
only we yeah, few days back only we conducted an event.
I think that's amazing, and it's also to show how ingenious everyone is. That even during COVID, um, हम लोग इतना कर पा रहे हैं, which I think is I think that's amazing. So on a more positive note, let's I think head over to the third question. Oh, this is again. I think this is again one of ours. So I'll read out the question. Which NGO facilitated the start of Menstrual Hygiene Day? Was it the Red Lotus, or was it Wash United, or your option C is Goonj, or was it Project Vedna?
Of course, it is not Project Vedna. Dhanishta, would you like to choose between three? So your voice is not audible, Dhanishta.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it is the second option. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
looking at the
So
Wash United. Sure.
if you like Dhanishta, you like sure, because it's important for us to get it right.
You wanna go with me?
No, I think we should go with our first instinct. So let's go with B then.
Okay.
It might be the Red
So it's
Lotus for
B.
all you know. Okay, right. It is Wash
No.
United. You guys got it's 2-0 now. So anyway, Shreya, why don't you ask our our
Yeah.
anchors another interview question, because they're getting all of them right and we have nothing to show for it. So go for it.
Yeah, so the second question we have for you is that do you think the government is like doing enough to tackle the different problems surrounding menstruation in India? Like, how have different NGOs helped eradicate stigma and period poverty?
Dhanishta, would you like to answer it?
I would like to start with that it was all over the news that on 15th of August, Modi ji mentioned about menstrual cycle in front of the public, and he became the first leader to talk about it. I think it is an improvement for us because nobody's ever thought of that. Nobody ever did that, right, Jaya?
Yeah, right. I totally agree, because on public scale, our prime minister is addressing this much of public on menstrual hygiene, because this is a topic which everybody should talk about. Because in our India, like everybody is scared of just talking on this topic. Like they are ashamed of talking on this topic. But as Modi ji like spoke about it on 15th August, so by like just speaking, as I mentioned, communication is the key. So he like when he mentioned, it was a great huge like step. And also, other than that, I think they are planning on taking out these schemes. Like I think there is Modi government is planning on launching 12,000 crore schemes to ensure sanitary napkins across India, which is like their own brand, I think, Suvidha, I think.
With her pad at one.
Yeah, Suvidha Pad. And other than that, I think there are. Your voice is not audible, Dhanishta, if you're saying something.
Anyone could afford that price at the rupees only the one.
Yeah, they are making it available at the price of rupees 1, so that anybody can afford it, and anybody can get access to sanitary napkins at least. Because there are people who doesn't have access to sanitary napkins. They are still using those cloths and uh, all
Sand
other
and
things which we,
yeah,
yeah, all other things which we used in, like, we used to in past. And
right,
other
yeah.
than that, I think there are various initiatives which are taken on a world level, also national level, as I
Mhm.
think UN, United Nations, have taken the initiative, like FAQs. I think when I was researching about, like, one of the topic for my team, I came across their site, which was United Nation Population Fund, in which, like, I saw those FAQs. As we know, there are several people who doesn't know about the basic questions about the menstruation, like what is menstruation and what is menstrual cycle, and they even don't know what their girls are going through. Because several
Mhm.
days back only, we conducted a survey, and in which we
Right.
get to know that their male members doesn't know about that their girls are going through menstruation. So I think this is a great initiative of UN also, like they have highlighted FAQs so that anybody can go through it. And yeah, I think Dhanishta has some another point she wanted to speak.
Yes, like that. We have also conducted in jam competition in which the girls were like literally bursting out with their thoughts. Like they are so frustrated with this arrangement of the society that the males are even not knowing about it. Yeah,
Right,
that's it.
yeah. Yeah, I think you
And
mentioned several significant. Yeah, go ahead if you were going to say something.
yeah, yeah, you continue like you were just saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, different schemes you mentioned, they are the need of the hour, and the fact that our government, and the fact that you mentioned communication, and the fact that our prime minister addressed menstruation itself, because of course our society is very um, conservative, and when it comes to menstruation, we don't really like talking about it that much. So as you mentioned, that itself is a very significant step. Shreya, what do you say?
Yeah, I think so too.
Sorry.
Even in families, like even in some families, they're not talk about it. It's even between a mother and a daughter. Maybe it's a very hushed topic to talk about. So, like the government stepping in and working towards it. It's really good to see that, and it's really nice that it's happening. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I also think we should keep in mind that there is always room for improvement. There is always so much
yeah,
more to do. But then
of
again, the fact
course.
कि हम लोगों ने इतना कर लिया है is itself just considerable. But again, always so much more we can do, and there will always be communities that the government has not been able to reach out to. So I think while the government in I think the answer to this question would always be yes, the government is doing things, but again there is always so much more change that needs to be brought about. Again, it's such a broad topic, but the fact that the government, along with projects like yours, Project Vedna, I think then change will slowly start to become tangible, and you can really see that change in society being brought about. So on that note, I think let's head over to the next question. Um, oh, all right. So I think this is one of yours.
Yeah.
Dhanishta.
So you're going to ask question or should I?
No, this is one of
You
yours.
you
Yeah, this
you
is
go. You go forward.
So guys, the question is what is the GST levied on period products?
I think this is an answer that
Shreya,
we both
I think I
know.
know this one because I'm
Yeah.
sorry I cut you off. Keep going.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the same thing that this is an answer that you know, for a change. So,
Yeah.
um,
No tax, right?
so
No tax.
yeah, it's C, right?
Yeah, we used to. I know that we used to have like similar to Canada. We used to have something that was known like it's known as the tampon tax. It's called that in Canada. I'm not sure what the Indian terminology is for that, but I know ki we used to have it. But then on popular demand, the government abolished it. So again, Shreya and I, no tax. Are you sure? Pakka, because
Yeah,
if you
very
get it
sure.
wrong, I'm going to blame it on you. Okay. So is it C?
What
No,
is it,
it's
Jen?
wrong. It's 12%.
What?
We asked you
What?
GST.
Oh
That what
God.
is the GST level on period products? And it's
All right.
12%.
Oh,
Really? That's
Yeah,
terrible. I think that's terrible. All right. Oh
yeah.
God, this is new. This is news
That
to
to
me.
me.
yes.
Shreya,
Well,
I told you.
Because
Yeah, go
because
ahead.
they,
they said
they
you should not
established.
know. So
All right. You know what? Why don't you give us an interview question anyway? Because with the way this is going, I think we're going to get all of them wrong. So just please, just give us an
Okay.
interview question.
Yeah, yeah. We will. Just a second.
Shreya, what were
Yeah.
you saying? I can't blame it on you. Of course, I can blame it on you. You said no tag.
that's not fair. That's not fair.
All right, interview question.
Yeah. So Dhanishta, just ask them an interview question.
Sorry,
Interview
I'm
question.
not audible. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
you are audible and yeah.
So I would like to ask that what is the main motive of your organization, and how are you working towards it? We would really like to know about that.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Achantika,
sorry.
uh,
There seems to be a phone call that's coming in, and nobody is at home. So Shreya, why don't you start with the first part of that question, and I will just pick up the phone because
yes.
this was not something I expected to happen.
Yeah, so basically, as Atyantika mentioned at the start of this, the Red Lotus project is a project which aims at sustainable menstruation, and we aim to make like menstruation a sustainable practice. I'm sorry, I can't see anyone else on the screen. Is it just me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now
Yeah, I
we
am
all
so
four
sorry.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Atyantika is back. Would you like to? Yes, you
Yeah.
can start.
All right. I'll answer the question because I have a better idea of the question because I was gonna Shreya just joined a month back. There is a lot of chaos occurring right now. Just so to answer your question, I'm so sorry for all of that. The main motive, I think, I mentioned in the beginning briefly, like a visit I had paid to my local waste segregation plant, right? I would say that was the catalyst to the formation of the Red Lotus because before that, we were your average 10th graders. Padhai likhai, we just wanted to really do well on our exams, and there really wasn't any other motivation that we had. But that one visit to the local waste segregation plant, I was alone at the time. Just for some pictures, it was there was nothing altruistic about it even then. We went there, and when you see for yourself how the condition persists, especially in a community like mine, which I would consider to be a very well educated, people earn significantly well, and you see it happening here. So you wonder what is happening in more rural parts of our country. Like it can only be worse than this. So you imagine how bad that can be, and you come and then we did a survey after that because when I called in Manasvi and Ishita, they were still very hesitant about it. So we were like, okay, dekte how many people actually even what happens after you dispose of your waste. We did that survey, and one significant question I still remember was, do you know what happens to your pads or your tampons after you throw it in your dustbin? Half of more than half, I think like 74, nearly 74% of these answers were no, we don't. हमें नहीं पता. The problem of period poverty in India cannot be denied. but there is also that significant section of society that has access to menstrual products. But after you throw it in your kachre ka dibba, uske baad kya hota hai? What about communities like sanitation workers, and especially in a country like ours, where we say there is no caste system, there is no hierarchy, rule of law, everybody is equal. But it is undeniable that communities like sanitation workers are ostracized. People don't take them seriously just because of the nature of their profession. And going there, seeing really kya ho raha tha, what the situation was, I think that became the real motivation to start the Red Lotus. And that survey again just fueled the fact that this is an undeniable problem, and we feel that we can do something to this, because we've always been told the youth have to take action, right? Who else is the youth? We are the youth. So that is the motivation, to ensure that what I saw at that waste segregation plant one day is something that is just that is something you don't see in India anymore. We don't want that to happen, and not just in India. We don't want that to happen to anyone around the world, because even though the sanitation workers, unka to kaam hai. How can you say that? It's inhumane, right? They're human beings as well. And again I also mentioned that, so that's the improper disposal part. We also wanted to bring in sustainable menstruation. You mentioned the United Nations have their sustainable development goals that are made to achieve sustainability. They're also known as the global goals, right? So we're talking about all of that, and menstruation is such a big part of nearly 50%, a considerable amount of people who are of reproductive age around the world, not only in India. So, how can you make this entire process sustainable? Because climate change, that sort of thing, again, undeniable. So, again, we wanted to combine these two and really work towards what we believe, which is the proper disposal of menstrual waste, to cater to the section of society that cannot make the change to more sustainable products, and then sustainable period products, where you actually convince people that, leave these pads and tampons and make the shift to menstrual cups, period panties, so many most viable, eco friendly solutions that have come up. Then you mentioned how we go about it. Shreya, why don't you talk a bit about that? Because Shreya has done amazing work when it comes to how we actually go about this.
So basically, we have these things called the Mare packets. Yeah, they're packed. So basically, the process of when we dispose our sanitary napkins or menstrual pads, um, we normally wrap them up in newspapers, right? And once they reach waste segregation plants, they're obviously going to open up. And again, like Atyantika mentioned, sanitation workers have to sift through them with their bare hands, and that's just not okay. And we can't just let that be. So the Mare packets, essentially, what they do is you dispose of your menstrual pads inside the packets, and it's a very conspicuous and better, just generally a better way to dispose of your menstrual pads. So we've
Yeah.
conducted a bunch of drives in Kerala, Kochi itself. Atyantika and the other co-founder Ishita have done a bunch of drives in their residential area. I have done a drive in my residential area. We've had drives in Maharashtra, we've had drives in Gujarat, and we're going to do a distribution in Korea and Bangalore. So Red Lotus is officially going international. So that's a cool announcement that we have to make. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
about it.
Shreya, if I could just cut in,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
sure.
holding an example of one, and why we call them meh. We've spoken a lot about communication, right? You mentioned yourself, communication is key. So meh means me, obviously. So we also want to sort of amplify the fact that you don't have anything to be ashamed of when it comes to your menstrual cycles. That's why may we sort of see as I, that you are accepting your individuality. There is nothing to be ashamed of. Menstruation is not a taboo, and we want to do them in different languages, so that
I have
again menstruation. Yeah,
I have one
Shreya
in
would probably be
Malayalam right
holding one.
here.
I can't really see anyone. She's holding the one we have in Malayalam. Then I have, she mentioned we are doing a drive in Korea, so we have one like that. Then we have one in Gujarat, written in Gujarati. Then I think we have one in Kannada as well. So, so really, we're trying to show that, you know, and this is only to cater to that section of society who uses pads and tampons. because so that you can dispose your menstrual products in these. When it comes to sustainability, that is more of a personal initiative. You have to do that on your own, but we really try to get the point across through webinars, through we go lives, these sort of events. So yeah, that's how we go about it, I think.
It's a great initiative, you know. I just hear by hearing like how you people are, like how you thought about and how you went through all the process. It is like really inspirational that you like 10th grader students can think so much and can do it about, and that you are taking it internationally. Like that is very nice, very great.
Thank
Yes, it is too good to hear that. So, very
you. Yeah.
nicely answered, guys. So, we would go ahead, please.
So
I
should
don't know if
we
it's
like
just.
move on to next? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. No, we can move to the next question. Yeah, let's do that. All right. You get this right, it won't be fair.
We
And I will
don't
assume.
have like a
Kind of
screen is not sharing.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no. Oh wait. Really? Oh dang it.
Yeah.
1 second. 1 second. I'll just share again. I don't know why that's happening. Wait, could you see my screen when I was talking?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, we can. No, like I can see. Okay.
All
Oh,
right.
I couldn't see the shared screen when Atyantika was
What about now?
answering. No.
Can you?
Is it
You
just
still can't see?
me?
Can you see my
I
screen?
can't see it. I can't see it.
No, we can't see.
Oh, I have no idea what that's happening. 1 second. I am sharing my screen. Share. What about now?
It's loading. It's
Yeah,
loading. Yeah, yeah, we can
Now?
see it.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank God. Okay. So yeah, this is your next question. This is extra hard. So that you. Oh, oh, we're still 2-0. Jesus Christ. Okay, Shreya, we really need to ramp it up.
Yeah.
I'll read out the question.
Hmm.
How many days does the average woman menstruate in a lifetime? A 3,500 days, B 2,000 days, C 800 days, or D 6,000 days?
So,
It's
the
simply a
answer.
mathematical calculation, and which I think
This.
Dhanishta is good at.
Oh,
And
really?
Dhanishta, please, yeah, Dhanishta is good at mathematics. So I
That makes
think
her
she
the only
could.
one amongst us.
Dhanishta is good at maths, so you can calculate, I think.
Okay, that's not true. I'm terrible.
Good to know we're not the only ones, right? Shreya? Yeah. Okay. So take a
Uh,
guess. Yeah. Let's see.
So, I choose option
so,
A. Go ahead.
okay, so I will go with your instinct because your instinct is like kind of right with first question. So I agree with you if you say A.
So, yeah, I'll go with A.
You sure?
Yeah.
100%.
Of course, not 100% because of course we are guessing, but yeah, like by instinct, it's A.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys are right. This is such a terrible.
Okay.
This
This
is
is
very
not fair.
embarrassing for us.
Sorry, Shreya, what were you saying?
Oh, I said this is very embarrassing for us.
Yeah, this is very embarrassing for us, right? One would assume that since we were invited to do this live, we would prepare more. And clearly, we're losing really badly. So, anyway, you guys, another interview question, I guess. All right. So, do I read it out, Shreya, or do you want to go ahead?
You can go ahead.
All right. So, again, how has Project Vedna worked towards resolving the problem of period poverty? Now, I would say resolving is a bit of a broad term because the
Yeah.
problem of period poverty is so broad. But
Mhm.
what has Project Vedna done to even slightly mitigate the problem of inaccessibility to menstrual products?
Yeah, like
Jaya,
see, Yeah. I will like start with my answer, and if you want to add something at the end, you can. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah. So I think we are like doing our best to uh, creating awareness, because in this time, like in COVID time, it's quite difficult for us like to spread awareness, because like nobody's like till now nobody took online seriously, and in spreading in that this online events, it's quite difficult, but like we tried. We create conducted children's panel, as I mentioned. Like we talked to various government children. Our previous team of Project Vedna talked to various children's panel, teachers panel, where they you know uh, tried to talk to teachers that they should narrate, uh, talk about these periods and menstruation more often, not even only with girls, with boys too, because it's totally a vague idea that why shouldn't a boy uh, support a girl in this, like uh, don't you guys agree? Like boys should like know about this topic, that it is not an embarrassing topic. Like we mentioned that we have an event a few days back, and one participant amongst them shared their experience in their schools. So what they shared was that their teacher, back in 10th, we used to have a biology chapter in back in 10th called reproduction.
Yeah, yeah.
So in the at that time, that teacher left that chapter and said that study on your own, and if you have any doubt, please ask me later on, not in class. So like it's so embarrassing when like teachers are not only taking initiative to make children learn about things. If you like as I said earlier, as we as a student, when our school or colleges were offline, we used to spend 50% of our day in our schools and colleges, and what we learn from our schools and colleges are a major part. What we learn from them, what we learn, that's why it said, no, get a good company of friends, because of course we spend our 50% of the day with them. So it's very important for teachers to take this initiative, that they bring awareness among children in their schools only, and not only to girls, even to boys, so that ये idea किसी के लिए भी vague ना हो बाद में. They should be, it should be equal for, like if girls get period in front of boys, boys should be ready to help instead of making fun of it. And we also conducted various NGO panels, like this we created. We wanted to talk to various NGOs, like how they are working and how they are taking initiative in working towards this menstruation. And there are like kind of open mics we conducted, where we allow various participants and various other children to participate and speak about this topic. Like personally, I feel that communication is the key. Like communication should be there, where when you need a clarity, it's always said that when you need a clarity, you should communicate. So I
Yeah.
think our society needs a clarity about this topic. So as much as we communicate, I think more this topic will get more resolved. So yeah,
Yeah.
if Danishta would like to add something.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Jaya, and all of our efforts just to make the people talk on the topic. Just that's it.
Yeah, yeah. That you made an amazing point. Like I do believe that communication is key. Like the fact that more than half of our population is not educated about this topic, like really contributes the problem a lot. Like even teachers, like teachers are a big part of our lives, right? And when they themselves, are mitigating, like are uh,
It adds to the problem, I think,
Yeah,
is what you're
yeah.
trying to say. Yeah,
Mm.
and we just did reproduction ourselves because we're all in 10th, we just passed to 11th now. And I think it even AS we had that chapter, right, Shreya? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure even our teachers just glossed over the entire thing. कि हमें नहीं करना खुद पढ़ लो.
No,
And I, yeah, sorry.
no, no, I'm agreeing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, of course. And Shreya, you and I, we both go to the same school, and I'm sure you've noticed this as well. Ki whenever something occurs that concerns someone's menstrual cycle or something like that,
Yeah.
Shreya, they call all the girls out, na,
Well,
and they like herd us all
there
together.
Yeah, there have been so many instances that the like our ayas, like the helping people in our school, the janitors basically, they had to like clean up other people's mess, like their menstrual mess basically. They like dumps menstrual pads, like they flush it down the toilet and they clog the toilet. So they had to like, they had to clean all this up, and it's just not okay that we're letting someone else do our work. Like that's our work, that's something we have to do ourselves. And we were called so many times, just the girls, just the girls, we were called, very secretly. And then they would tell us, how we're so educated but we still can't dispose of our menstrual waste correctly. And I agree with that. We are being so educated, we still can't do that properly. But again, like we're not getting the right kind of education about it, right? Like we're not told how to dispose of menstrual waste by our teachers. We're not taught that basically. Yeah.
And I think that's so interesting because it ties together two points we just spoke about. One is the fact that, as you mentioned, the male population is not really educated about this. They're like, okay, this is just something that happens to females. Even when that is incorrect as well, not all women menstruate. And in general, it's considered to be too feminine of a problem for the male gender to even, and not like it's their fault. Also, people don't like to talk about it in general, and this is a problem that is really exacerbated in Indian society. But also, when we were talking about this, when people try to flush their pads down the toilet and everything, and and the eyes secretly call all only the girls out and don't really address the whole class. I think that's such an interesting example of that displays both these problems together of improper disposal and the fact that we don't address everyone together, and it's just only seen as this is a problem that only all women have to take into account. So I think that's a very interesting example of how these two problems are actually interconnected in a sense.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe let's move on to the next question. Oh, this is from you guys.
Yeah, hopefully we get this one right.
I know.
Okay, I think Danishta is disconnected again, so I should continue.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, question is, what is the percentage of menstruators in India who have access to menstrual pads? A 45%, B 36%, C 52%, and D 68%. It's
Yeah,
so
how would
hard.
you say we take the help of a classic student tool known as eeny, meeny, miny, mo, the chance of probability? I have no idea. What do you say?
um I really want to say like a high number, but I know it probably won't be true.
Yeah.
um
Oh, good reasoning. Let's go with the lowest number this
yeah.
time. Yeah.
Um so yeah, I think we'll go with
36.
B. Yeah, B, 36%.
Lock किया जाए. Please, please.
Yeah, this
Abhi,
time correct. That logic
yay!
worked.
Finally.
That
One for the
the
team. Thank
yeah.
God.
Now at last you scored a point.
Thank you. Okay, you're just rubbing it, salt in the wound now. Okay, we get it. Okay, now the interview question we've rightly earned, and we're not begging for this time. So, yeah.
So yeah, Dhanishta, would you please ask another question, or should I continue?
I think you should ask.
Okay. So, as you are co-founder of this organization, we would like to know, as you have already told that like what motivated you to take this initiative. But yeah, like if have you faced any real life experiences like which leads to this motivation? We would which you would like to share it, like a real, like which you encountered and which led to this initiative.
I've already spoken about that one trip to the sanitation plant, right? And that is the most significant. But and that is the one that really, as I mentioned, was the catalyst, I would say, in this entire journey. But even then, ever since founding the Red Lotus, there have been numerous instances that still continue to motivate me. Most of now, which are positive. Whenever I go on a distribution drive and we hand out these packets, when I see people ask me what is this for, and I explain the problem, and they really seem to resonate with it, right? Because we constantly stress on the section of society that is ignorant, जिनको who are very dismissive of the problem कि हाँ क्या हमारा क्या जाता है. But there is always that section of society who adapts to the coming circumstance, who embraces change, right? And there is a and when we were first doing our drive, the first one, I remember we just come up with this entire idea. Okay, I'll talk about this. This is and it touches on this. So at this waste segregation plant, they have a biomedical incinerator, is which is what they should be using to dispose of this waste. However, the way that incinerator works is that you have to have a certain volume of जो pad है, जो the tampons people are disposing of, for it to work. If you don't have that, don't have that volume, the machine just doesn't work and it doesn't incinerate things. Now, since people are not properly disposing of their menstrual waste, or were not disposing of their menstrual waste, the sanitation workers were forced to hard say take out the menstrual pads from all the rubbish that the trucks used to bring in. Now, of course, you can't expect sanitation workers घंटों के लिए ना they're just looking for pads. You can't expect that. And they didn't have gloves or anything of the sort. They used to give up and सब कुछ incinerate कर देते थे, all collectively, all together, which is obviously not great for the environment, which is an understatement, really. And so this biomedical incinerator was like a showpiece, which is arguably the best way you can dispose of medical waste. The least amount of smoke is produced, least amount of carcinogenics, but nothing is happening. It's just sitting there. So our motivation for the first drive was to tell people ki, hey, please dispose of your waste properly and make use of these mere packets if you can. This will make it much more easier for the sanitation workers to even identify the menstrual waste because they weren't able to even pick out this is a pad, this is a tampon, and then this is a banana peel. It was very hard to tell the difference because all of it, one big mountain of it. So we told them, use this. It's easy, it's efficient, it won't open also because we give you an adhesive seal. And during our first drive, we did the drive. We waited for a month, then we headed back to the segregation plant to see if it made sense. Because if it's not helping the sanitation workers, there's no point, only, no. We went there, and sanitation worker there, her name is Sunita. She had the biggest smile on her face, and she's like, we were today able to use the biomedical incinerator because we had that volume. We were able to segregate the menstrual waste and the tampons. We were able to actually, it was so much more conspicuous for us, and it made the job significantly easier. And we've paid several subsequent visits, and on all occasions they have been able to use the biomedical incinerator. We can see our packs being used. So that is one, I would say, that is one significant event that really keeps me motivated, because for every person who is not ready to adapt, there are three people who will take into account what you're saying, who will listen to people, because and who will embrace change. So I would say that is one really big motivation for continuing the Red Lotus. When you actually see what you are trying to initiate actually take place and crystallize in society, it's the best thing you can see. And Shreya recently did a drive herself in her community, and after she did the drive, how there was this one woman who asked for how many packets. What was it, Shreya?
I explained to her what the packets were, and she was the first person I visited to give the packets, right? And instantly, she was just so happy to see that something like this was happening, and she asked me for 100 packets. It was really nice to see that because it really shows you that people are ready to change, right? And it really motivates you. So it's really nice to see that. Yeah.
लाइक दैट इज कि किसी को स्टार्ट करना पड़ता है और फिर एंड एंड people are ready to encourage. There are people in society which are ready to change and which are ready to um, change for better. It is a change for better, of course. What you people are doing, it's a great initiative, because yeah, proper disposal is a problem. Because we know, like, there of course there as you said, as I totally agreed that period poverty is not a topic which can be ignored, but this is also a topic which cannot be ignored. Like, this is topic which need to be addressed, and you people, by doing this and by taking this initiative, you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's head to the next question then.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, this is one of us. Shreya,
Yeah.
why don't you read it out?
Mhm. It
This
is
is wrong. My partner is not there, yaar. How will my instinct work?
Oh, no, no, no. This is karma because you're getting too many of them right. So
How
this was
will my
one.
instinct work? Yeah.
Now let's see. Let's see now how your instinct holds up. Shreya, read the question.
okay. So it is estimated that as much as dash percentage of menstruators in India do not know what sanitary pads are. Option A is 23%, option B 10%, option C 42%, and option D 50%. So,
Hmm.
Abhishek, Vanishta.
Should we
you said that
have
you're not
should we
the
make it
only.
like a very Kaun Banega Crorepati environment, and Shreya and I can count down from 60?
Oh, it did that as much as dash percentage. Okay.
Do you know the answer?
It is.
No.
Let's go with A again, because A is, being a lucky charm for us.
Uh-huh.
Are you sure you want to stick with A?
Then we
All
should
Yeah,
right.
go with
I think A.
A. Are you sure?
No, I'm not. But yeah, I'm just guessing. I'm taking
That's
a
all.
wild guess.
I trust you. So we'll go with A.
No, no, no. You can't blame me. As Shreya said, you can't blame me after that.
I'll not blame you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So
All
okay,
We'll
right.
go
good
with
job, Pritika. See, that's how a team should work.
Okay, I knew you were going to say that. But moving on, Shreya, are they right or not?
Um, they're not.
They're not.
Oh,
You're not. Finally, thank you. Okay. The
Okay.
answer is actually much worse. We wish it was like 23%. That would be
Mm-hmm.
so much better than the correct answer, which is 42%.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, a very heavy number, I would say
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
that is
nearly,
so know that.
yeah. It really puts
yeah.
into perspective what a big problem, it is. So,
This
Yeah,
is what I. Yeah. Yeah, you go ahead.
yeah, it's like, there is limited access to menstrual products, but then there is also कि लोगों को पता ही नहीं है what sanitary pads are.
mm-hmm.
So, that itself, so as Shreya said, really puts into perspective how big of a problem this is in India, in our country.
No, I totally agree, because as I said earlier, like, yes, this is like what you are doing. It's a great job, but this many amount of people doesn't know about sanitary pads only. So this is like a huge issue. We need to, we are working towards it, but as we know, like in India, everything is a slow progress. So it
Yeah.
will take time, but yeah, we have to start somewhere.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. So, moving on to the next question. Oh, is this for us? Please be for
Yeah,
us. I think we need this sort of question.
yeah, this is for you guys. So it is menstrual awareness in school is important, true or false?
It's very obvious what the correct answer is.
Yeah,
Obviously true. We're gonna go with true. Um,
yeah, it is of course true.
so it's nice to know that we're catching up and that we're gonna
Yeah, what are
get.
the points? I've totally lost count of the entire thing. I don't know what the points are anymore.
Yeah, uh, yeah, I also have lost count now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. Yeah. So, question.
Yeah, so it's true. Menstrual awareness in school is important. So, like, what are your views on it?
Oh, obviously, this needs to be incorporated in our education system. I was on this. We were doing this live once with this one organization, and she mentioned education and menstrual awareness in the same sentence, and I totally went on a whole rant. And we weren't able to get through half of the questions because I just kept talking about how we need to talk about menstruation in our school without teachers and educators just flipping through pages just by menstruation, yeah, or reproduction likha hua hai na, that needs to stop. You'd mentioned the fact that boys and men and that they need to be involved in the entire education, in the entire, when we talk about menstrual awareness, or so that can only be brought about through education, right? When it is properly incorporated into our education, like now we have a new education policy that was announced, right? um, so there needs to be, so in this I want to see personally reform when it comes to the curriculum. I want to see how our government is going to involve sensitive topics like this, because it is important that we be educated about this sort of thing. We were talking to a senior, um, who was talking about PCOS and PCOD, and she mentioned by the time people that she mentioned by the time menstruators with these conditions realize that they have PCOS, PCOD, it's too late, and they are unable to have kids. There are a lot of some, and it really affects you emotionally as well as physically. Why do people realize so late that they have PCOD or PCOS? Because they are not talked about in our education
Hmm.
system. अगर हमें पता होता कि ऐसी चीजें होती हैं, तो then only would we think about it, probably match our symptoms, because they people who suffer from such disorders, it's not like there are no symptoms that are not showing up, right? It's just that we write it off, doesn't matter, because सुना ही नहीं है क्या होता है PCOD, PCOS. That all needs to be incorporated into our education system. This sex education, all of that needs to be incorporated. So yeah, I
Hmm.
fully agree.
Yes, of course. The education system needs to change. Like we study history and geography like till 10th. These subjects should be included, like about
Exactly.
menstrual health, sex education, and these topics are meant to be, like at least
Discuss.
addressed to Indian students.
Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely. Fully agree. So yeah.
Let's move on to the next question.
Oh, won't you ask us, like, I think an interview question because we got it right? Just because we're getting
So
all of it wrong doesn't mean you won't ask us an interview question. Right?
no, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will ask you. So yeah, would you like to share any particular incident or any experience with us? Um, okay, so yeah, you shared it. So let me ask you next question. Do you face any difficulties while working towards your motive, like a social hurdle you face? If yes, we would like to hear it.
Yeah, again, like as we've mentioned many times before, like menstruation is such a hushed topic, it's not talked about, so it's very obvious that we were going to face some problems going into this, because like when I conducted my drive, I remember being like very nervous about talking to my neighbors about this, right? Because I wasn't sure how they react, how how would they would perceive this, right? And I remember talking to my mom, and I was like, can you please like introduce this topic to them so that I won't have to be part of the awkward part of the conversation. And my mom was like, I know it's a difficult conversation to have, but it is a conversation that you need to have. It's the need of the hour, right? And I completely agree with her, and I did end up talking to all these people, and very surprisingly, like they were all very open to having a conversation about this. So again, like once you try to take a step towards change, you can really see it happening. And that is again another thing that keeps us motivated. So yeah, that's Atlantica. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think during every distribution drive, we sort of face this awkward conversation where we're explaining what we're doing to a person, and they're sort of like, "Is this necessary?" Before either they warm up to the idea or they just give us the cold shoulder. So I fully agree with Shreya that this is one social barrier we do face, that the entire stigma of menstruation still sort of exists. And it is something that is very prevalent when we distribute our packets or when we are having a conversation, that those initial awkward 2 minutes that shouldn't exist but still exist.
Mhm.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Shreya's parents are supportive about it. And like like what in what we do if our parents and our family support, we get
It goes
another
a long
level,
way.
confidence to do
Yeah,
Right.
that work.
I agree.
Absolutely. So let's head to the next question. Right, this is
Okay,
one of
this is
us.
right. Yeah.
What? Oh, Shreya, should I read it out? Is it my
Uh,
turn?
I'll read it out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
So, what is water, sanitation, and hygiene abbreviated to? Oh, I'll read out the options. One second. A is wish. B is WSH. C is WASAHY, and D is wash. So,
Okay. As my instinct have gone wrong in previous question, I would like Tanishta to answer this.
I think I know this one. It is the last option D, wash.
are you sure? Because like
Shreya,
option
why
A.
are you even asking them that? The other options are incredibly stupid, and I obviously didn't try it out when I was coming up with them. Yeah, you're right. The answer is wash. You guys have earned yourself
Yay!
another interview question. This is just terrible. Okay, Shreya, why don't you read
Um,
it out this time?
yeah, yeah. Right. So the question we have for you is, has working towards period poverty and like being a part of Project Vedna changed you as a person? Like, have you become a more aware and a conscious individual? We would really like to know that. So,
Yeah, of
Yes,
course it has, changed us personally. Yeah, Tanishta, you were speaking. Please continue.
yes, we totally agree with that because as an individual, I have developed myself more and more. The more and more I got involved in this, I get to know myself,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and there's a kind of empathy and kindness that is so important. I felt that when I started working with Project Vedna. Jay, would you like to add something? Your
Yeah,
experience?
yeah, of course. While working, we get to know so many things, as we get to interact with so many different kinds of people who are working for
Yes.
similar, calls. So we get to know
Just
their
like you
point of
guys.
view.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we get to interact with new people, and we get to know like how, like from small age you are working towards a cause, which is a real need to talk. Yeah, it's a great initiative and it's a great work, and we get to interact with new peoples, and we get to develop. and groom ourselves, like our skills. We need to we increase, and it helps us to sharpen our skills, like communication skills, and we need to develop our personality. We develop as we interact with people, as we communicate with people, you know things get better. Yeah, it
We are
is.
glad to be a part of this project.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned about how through this project we also discover more of ourselves and we learn more things
Yes,
absolutely
yes.
hit the nail on the head. Because once I visited this the segregation plant, I realized just how much I didn't know. And since then it's been a journey of self discovery and also learning about a problem that is very prevalent and affects different communities of different that belong to different social strata. And you really learn, as you mentioned, more about yourself, more about your goals, your ambitions, and it allows you not only to develop as a person but also as a citizen, which I think is very important. And you're also giving something back to society, which I think there can be nothing more that there can be no more fulfilling feeling, right? When you realize that what you are doing is actually making a change in society, it really changes you. So I think what you mentioned absolutely resonates with both of us.
Yeah.
Yes. Guys, this is a very humble request that can we please go a little faster because we are
Oh
running
God.
short of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
So
Let's
let's
just head to the
proceed
next
with
question
the,
then.
yeah, next question.
Oh, great. I think this is one of yours.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is the question from our side. So
Hmm.
Danishta, would you like to ask them?
Yes, of course. So, when was the first menstrual napkin invented? Option A 1957 by Mary Beatrice Davidson Kenner, 2021 by Kyle Jenner, 1887 Alexander Graham Bell, and D 1799 by Mary Anning.
Shreya, do we really need
So,
to even think about this? The obvious answer is B 2021 by Kylie
Blank.
Jenner.
Blank. Is
There
there
is no
any
correct answer. Yeah, we don't even need to think about this. All right. On a more serious note, I think we can eliminate option B and C. What do you say?
yeah, I am confused between A and D, but since A has worked as a lucky charm for
Yeah.
Project Vedna, I just feel like we should go with A. So
Yeah. I agree with that reasoning. I was really putting a lot more thought into it. That 1799 Victorian era. Did women in the Victorian era use sanitary napkins? But we can also go with that reasoning, sure. We'll go with A, 1957 by Mary Beatrice Davidson Kenner.
yeah,
Okay, so it's the right answer. I think A is working with for everybody except me.
Great.
that's not true.
So yeah, now I would like to to ask you a question. Um, there are two different things we are working on. As our organization is working towards period poverty in some way, while your organization is working towards proper disposal of pads, which is basically restricted to those who use them. So, how do you think that both the problems can be resolved while switching to a sustainable sector?
um,
Sorry again, chaos in the background. I would say, since I would like to bring in not only Red Lotus's um, agenda of working towards proper disposal, but also sustainable menstruation. So we would really like to split it into a long-term solution and a short-term solution. I'll go with the long-term one. Is you mentioned different government schemes, one that was on worth 12,000 crores would take that much money to carry out. And again, we know that even despite these schemes, a significant section of our society is deprived of. Can you hear me over the din in the background?
Yes,
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
yes,
Am I audible? All right.
yes,
So I'll try to make
yes.
this quick. You're right. But we still know that despite these schemes, a significant section of our society still does not have access to pads, tampons, that sort of thing. right? We know that this has been shown. The efficacy of these different schemes is rather dodgy. So what the government can do, because it is primarily the government that has the resources to carry out such widespread initiatives. We have NGOs, of course, but the government is really the one who can make tangible change really quickly. So what the government can do to really hit two birds with one stone is to, instead of proposing, solutions to period poverty that are primarily plastic based, why not bring in more sustainable solutions? Instead of 12,000 crore handing out um, pads that are made of 90% plastic, which I think is a question later, and I just gave you the answer. I'm so sorry. That are, composed 90% of plastic. Let's hand out biodegradable pads. Let's hand out period panties. Let's hand out menstrual cups. And this will help us address these absolutely nonsensical rumors that float around society, na, that if you wear a menstrual cup, you will break your hymen and then you no longer will be a virgin. Who even came up with that? The moment you shift the topic from talking about just period poverty to talking about sustainable solutions to period poverty, you are really, like I mentioned, two birds with one stone. You're addressing two major problems. And again, since it's coming from the government, a significant section of our society places their trust in the government. A large part of Indians, come under these different welfare schemes that the government carries out. And again, that's why that's why they place their trust in the government. And if it's coming from when it's coming from such a respectable source, we all will be more inclined to really listen to them, and then you can see so much more change coming at a rate that will be unimaginable, right? It will be on such a large scale. So the topic will shift from, okay, this is period poverty, this is the solution to it, and your solution is just normal pads and tampons. Again, something that needs to be brought in. But why don't we mention more sustainable alternatives? And that really ties in the problem you guys are working towards and what we are working towards. But of course, like I mentioned, this is a long term goal. Our society is very conservative. But imagine, the government says we'll be handing out, cloth pads, even that sort of thing. That would be radical, because we will be addressing two major problems, two birds with one stone. I would say that's a long term solution. Shreya
Yeah.
has a more
So
viable one.
so that it was obviously a long-term solution. So as of now, like there are a bunch of people who are benefiting from these government schemes, and and that is still like a good amount of people, right? So what government can do is like educate people on how to dispose of their menstrual waste correctly, like to people who do have access to menstrual pads through these government schemes. Government is not telling them like how to dispose these off, they're just handing it to them, right? And that is commendable, but also we need to like talk about it as a whole, right? We need to talk about what happens to your menstrual pads or your menstrual waste once it is disposed. Nobody knows what happens when you dispose of your menstrual waste, right? So that is again something that needs to be talked about, and something that people need to be educated about. So if people are educated on how to dispose of their menstrual waste correctly, that would go a long way as of now. So yeah.
Yeah, and to just build on Shreya's point, most of the people who come under these government schemes are Indians who live in rural areas, and those menstruators that benefit from these government schemes. There are numerous studies that show how these menstruators dispose of their sanitary pads. They throw them into water bodies. They bury them, in pits. They try to burn them. Those, of course, are not. Yeah, that is not the way you're supposed to dispose of your menstrual waste. So for now, not only the government, that is not to say only the government should be making these changes, but any organization that is promoting period poverty, the solutions that you are providing can be more sustainable, that is to say. And of course, we are mostly catering towards menstruators that already have access to sanitary napkins and period products. And this is a two-way street. You can talk about the problem of period poverty to these communities, and of course communities that don't have access to period products. When you provide this access, when you provide this conduit that really brings in menstrual products, You can also talk about how you're supposed to dispose of it, or straight away just provide more sustainable solution. So that really solves everybody's problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like we said that both the topics we can't ignore. Both are the topics which are, really need to talk about. Neither we can ignore period poverty, nor we can, just ignore this sustainable disposal of bags. I completely agree.
Yeah. So next question. All right. Question 11. Dash tons of waste is produced by dispo. Okay, I think the grammar on this is wrong, or I just can't speak English anymore. Yeah. By tons of waste is produced by the disposal of sanitary pads worldwide. 9,000 tons, 7,000 tons, 350 tons, or 1,000 tons. What do you say?
I am bad at stats. I am not answering it. But yeah, that is that. Can you please
Don't do this. Please help me.
okay? Uh, so maybe 1,000 tons
Okay,
You're
let's
not
stick
going with.
with D.
because
We
A
actually
doesn't
don't
work
know the
for me.
answer.
Yeah, because
I
A
think you
doesn't
guys should
work
do
for me.
your A streak. A के अलावा भी there are three beautiful letters. Let's not discriminate. You can choose
Yes.
Yeah,
either of
that's
them.
what. No, A doesn't work for me, so that's why I'm going with D.
D, yes. D.
Okay.
We'll
D.
go with D. Yes.
You guys
I
should have stuck to A, my friends. The answer is
I
9,000 tons.
yeah, yeah. We kind of
Yeah,
both
Okay.
again,
agree there, and our plans work perfectly.
yeah, of course, we totally planned this. High
No,
five,
it's
Shreya.
me with the bad luck.
Yeah, bad luck. Tough luck. Okay, again, numbers speak for itself. 9,000 tons. That's just mind-boggling. Anyway, let's just move on to the next question because, as you mentioned, we're really short on time. So maybe this can be the last question. We can we
Yeah,
can we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
on a
but
more.
I think this is the question for you guys.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah. So the question is, which country was the first to make menstrual pads free?
Shreya,
A.
I know this.
Brazil, B. Denmark, C. Australia, and D. Scotland.
I think I
D,
want to go
Scotland.
with yeah, yeah. Even I want to go with D, Scotland.
Yeah, I know this one. This is all over the news, and I remember being so impressed. So yeah, Scotland.
It's correct.
Thank you.
You guys are right.
Yeah. So now, Dhanush, I would like you to ask follow-up questions.
Yes. So my question is, um, would you like to share any particular? Oh no, it has been already asked. So as we all know that you are working towards sustainable menstruation, is there any difficulty you faced in convincing people to use menstrual cups, like shifting from using pads to menstrual cups?
Mm-hmm. Shreya, do you want to start? Oh no,
Um,
you know what? It's fine. I'll take this question. Um, uh, I think it is natural human instinct to resist change. We're not very easy with change. Like I was talking about how there are people who embrace it quite openly, but there are always people who will try to resist it as much as possible. So that, and since ours as a society that is steeped in tradition, we are not very tolerant of anything that is new. So making that change is hard, especially when you're convincing people, when you're 15 years old and you're trying to convince people that, hey, this is the right thing to do. You're written off quite blatantly. That is obvious. And I remember when I was telling my mom, okay, I want to start this organization. She gave me that wala look, like, why would you want to do this? Chup chap karo. At the end, just do that. Why would you want to go off the beaten path? But again, once you introduce the full concept, people do start to warm up to the idea.
Hmm.
And now every person who menstruates in my family uses a menstrual cup, because I was like, okay, we're going to make this change. We're going to start with ourselves. So, making that and now, so that's with my family. I face that, but I face that barrier with people I live with, and there are no boundaries between us. When I walk up to a stranger and I'm talking about sustainable menstruation, it is very nerve wracking. Because again, like I mentioned, society that is steeped in tradition, people don't really want to talk about it, try to resist it as much as possible. We have this entire, like I mentioned, nonsensical myths that are utterly unscientific. And even when you have science on your side, when I tell them that nothing like this exists, no, nothing will happen when you make the shift. In fact, you will be doing your wallet a favor, right? Because you, what was that 12% GST tax? Once you buy a menstrual cup, you can use that for a prolonged period of time instead of going and spending money again and again while buying pads and tampons. So when you explain the logistics, people will always be apprehensive, and you can't expect them to not be apprehensive. We are naturally very suspicious of things that we don't know much about. So I would say that it is difficult to convince people to make that transition. But once we explain the logistics, we explain the science, the statistics, I find, and when they do make that change, because again, I've had a lot of people say that, oh, I'm using a menstrual cup now, or on this one occasion, we were knocking on someone's door. We said, hey, do you want these packets? She said, no, I already use a menstrual cup, and I'm well aware about the concept of sustainability, and how economical it is as well. And again, that is so rewarding to hear of. So again, I would reiterate what I said earlier, that while there are those who are apprehensive when it comes to change, apprehensive to try something new, there are always those that embrace it quite openly.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like Shreya said that women from her neighbor, wanted 100 pads. Of course, there are people who are ready to change.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, of course, there are people who are apprehensive about the topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we can just skip the other two questions
Uh,
because you obviously won. So yeah, I think we can wrap it up.
so yeah, and guys, it was a nice session, and I would like to, express my thank you and my gratitude to you guys for yeah. Um, Today, I take this opportunity to put all my gratitude into words. On behalf of Project Vedna and all the volunteers, I would like to thank our guests, Atyantika Mukherjee and Shreya Nair, who for taking their precious time out and consenting to be the guest of this event. Indeed, your thoughts inspired our viewers as well as us.
Mm.
I
Thank you.
like to thank our chairman, Abhishek sir, for providing us with great platform to share our thoughts. We would also like to thank our project leader Gitanjali and team leader Ayushi Verma for being a constant support and for giving us a lot of encouragement. Thank you so much. I must not forget to thank the volunteers who contributed to organizing this conference until the last day of the week. Last but not least, I thank you all the viewers for showing their interest in this program. I once again thanks everybody for making this program successful. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it
thank
was
you
our
so much for
pleasure.
joining
And
us today.
yeah,
Yeah, thank
Thank you for
and
you.
we,
having us. It was really
yeah,
great.
yeah, and Shreya and I learned that we need to really brush up on our knowledge. And then we're running
No,
a whole organization on it, yet we know almost nothing. So Shreya, we will work on that. But
Yeah.
again, thank you for having us. I think it was a wonderful session. We learned so much, yet at the same time, we also got to talk about what we do, and it is these sort of collaborations that really allow us to get our message across. So thank you for having us. You guys are doing a brilliant job yourself. Project Vedna is
You
amazing.
guys are doing a brilliant job at this
We are
age,
doing
you know.
nothing as compared to
Right.
yours.
Yeah. At this age, we were planning on taking which subject in class and figuring out what to do and what not to. You guys
Yes.
are reaching another level, and it's commendable. So,
Yeah,
great
yeah. So
job,
I'm
guys.
going to, yeah. No, every step counts. I think
Yeah.
it's just amazing.
Yeah, of course, it's a long way. We have to go a long way to make a huge change and to make a significant change, but every step matters. Yeah.
Yes.
Of
Yeah.
course, right,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right. So I think this has been amazing. Thank you for having us once more, for giving us this opportunity. It's been brilliant. So, do we leave now? How do we leave? I'm not sure. And do we click leave studio? Okay, I think that's how we do it. Okay.